Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Wake Up Missoula. I'm your host, Scott Ramp, ushering you into January 17th. This weekend is Martin Luther King Jr. Weekend, and it's going to be at St. Anthony Parish from about 4 to 6 p.m. It is a great service, and if you miss it, MCAT will be filming it. It will be published sometime next week for you guys to enjoy. We do it every single year. But the library will be closed. But also I wanted to mention that if you are out and about Monday, it's going to be one of the coldest days of the year, kicking off a deep freeze that are happening in and around Missoula. I believe the high is going to be 12 degrees. So you want to dress warm for the weekend. It's going to be pretty frigid, as today it's definitely going to start teetering down into the colder, more single-digit type stuff throughout the weekend. So stay warm, people. And also I wanted to mention that the Montana State Legislature kicked off. And if you want to learn more about bills and more, you can go onto their website. It's legmt.gov. It tells you about the more updated bills and committees and all sorts of things, and how you guys can get involved with upcoming laws and stuff. But also the fun thing about this service as well is that if you look under services, there's also resources under bill drafting. So if you're not really confident on your legislatures to draft bills within your best interest, why don't you just do it yourself? So bill drafting right here on the website. And yeah, so I'll talk a little bit more about it later on in my show, but we're going to jump on over to more city council stuff that is affecting the city as they talk about updating the quiet times for garbage collection and otherwise loud vehicles between 9 p.m. and 7 a.m. in the Grant Creek and Rattlesnake neighborhoods. Originally it was 10 to 6 and they wanted to change that. This was something that was made to combat the bears breaking into those bins and encouraging citizens to place those bins in time for trash collections with limited incidents. As part of it, but most overall, the noise is a bit annoying. Eric Melson, City Council for Ward 1, up in the Rattlesnake area, kind of presented and gave some of his reasoning behind it.
So residents are being disturbed by early morning hauling from trash and recycle pickups, and this has been occurring for quite some time. Not only does early morning hauling disrupt our established quiet hours, but it allows bears and wildlife to become more habituated to our waste because bins are left out overnight.
Part of this also has to do with the fact that Rattlesnake and Grant Creek neighborhoods are technically off the beaten path just outside Missoula and typically are in the early bird pickups compared to other areas in Missoula. The dump is north side of the other side of I-90, and they bury our trash. It's closer to those two areas, and part of this is that it kind of disrupts the flow of how the traffic routes and schedules work. And so the Ryan Kaufman from Public Services talk about how they're going to work around these changes as it pertains to the county and Bear Smart, and answer some of the questions from Gwen Jones on council about this.
Some of it doesn't fall within the city, it also falls within the county, that we'll have to have a more expansive discussion around it. And have to involve the county, because as it states right now, if all the bear buffer zones that are within the county, we would not have to start at 6 a.m. So there are no restrictions to that currently right now.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I think in Council Members Melson's discussion of having a further conversation around that, we would absolutely be willing to do that.
Okay, thanks. And then the last thing is just the 300 feet residential zone. How is that going to work in terms of you implementing your routes? It seems like, are there complications with that? Is that challenging, or will that work just fine? Or what in your opinion, how's that going to work with 300 feet
I think
barrier
that
for
is
residential?
going to be, appreciate the question. I think that's going to be complicated to decide where that 300 foot mark originates from. So I think that's going to be an ongoing relationship that we're going to have with the city to figure out where that starts from and where those measurements are taken from. So, but we'll,
Right. So most of the presence of Ryan Kaufman were essentially just out of obligation to the city just to be like, okay, we're willing to work with you. We don't know exactly what we're going to be quite doing. We still have to work these things out with the county. Not to mention we have to reroute and reschedule some things if we're going to adhere to these changes. Not an easy answer, and it requires planning to pick up schedules and to meet demands within the city. And for the most part, Republic Services are working within their parameters and schedules. So Rattlesnake and Grant Creek neighborhoods will have the 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. pickups. Quiet times, excuse me. Those are the times in which they want to have those quiet hours. Otherwise, most areas will have that 6 a.m. pickup that are not in the bear buffer zone. And most of this had to do with the fact that there was a back and forth between some people being like, okay, people just put out their trash bin the night before, kind of leave it out, and then 6 a.m. when they're supposed to pick it up, because trash pickup is a little bit too early for some people who are willing to get up to put their trash bin just in time for trash pickup. Chad Bowen, Chamber of Commerce, is against this for many reasons, and this is one of the main reasons is essentially just the noise.
We are asking you not to support this ordinance because we do not feel that it is government's intent to regulate business in a way that only affects two businesses. This ordinance is strictly for two trash haulers. It doesn't include the beer delivery people. It doesn't include the food delivery people in restaurants delivering at 5 o'clock in the morning in residential areas as well. I don't think there has been any conversation in regards to our wonderful people, the gentlemen in blue that work midnight to 8 o'clock in the morning, and they're sleeping during the day. Where do we draw the line at?
All right. And, sleeping during the day is definitely you're putting your own sleep schedule at risk, technically, because, noise ordinance in the city of Missoula is that you can't reach a certain threshold of, X amount of decibels between the hours of 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. regardless. And so, this also has to do with the fact that, you can't really dictate when you mow lawns. That was mostly just like noise complaints and stuff like that. But yeah, people getting off work at 6 a.m. doing the sleeping day, you just can't, it's definitely hard to kind of work around those kinds of things. And the city, for the majority of the people of Missoula, have gone for that noise. So this is the weird thing about those garbage pickup things, because this is the kind of can of worms that can really just kind of open up for this stuff. But we'll skip most of the back and forth for this topic. And overall, the trash collectors are cooperative, and the city is moving forward on these targeted areas of trash and recycle cleanup after 7 a.m. So as we're in the thick of the legislative session, as I showed you on the website and more, I'll talk a little bit more about it in my new segment towards the end of the show. Jessica Miller, the lobbyist for the city of Missoula, talks about her job in the city and also how how the city of Missoula is creating a connection through their website, ci.missoula.mt.us, and how to connect with the state legislature website and the areas of bills that will be affecting Missoula.
So from the city's main website, there's a couple ways to get there. The easiest thing to do is to scroll down to the bottom of the page and click on this news item here that's Montana Legislature with a nice picture of the Capitol. And that will take you to our legislative tracking page. There's a couple things up here on top, but first I want to kind of emphasize some of the information down here a little bit further in the bottom, where folks can certainly contact their city council members to say we would like the city to support or oppose X, Y, or Z bill. But I also have a lot of links on here trying to help the public navigate directly to the legislature, because their voice really carries a lot of weight there. When the city weighs in, we send one message. We have 1 3-minute testimony period versus if we have a dozen members of the public who are contacting their legislators directly.
Yep. And, a lot of times, every year, every 2 years, there's always going to be somebody talking about, oh, why do we need a lobbyist, blah, 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 representation, Jessica Miller, blah, blah, blah. It happens every year. Why should we pay for them, all that kind of stuff. And the city unanimously tends to be more in favor of having a lobbyist so we can have a representative to push some of the ideas and be like, oh, so this new law in the state of Montana is going to affect us in this way. Let's see what we can do to change it or have it completely removed. Legislative updates will become commonplace as the state creates laws that will affect Missoula government, and with property taxes being a major issue in the state of Montana, Missoula's budget could be affected by some of these laws being passed. Property taxes is at the highest it's ever been. Income taxes, 70% of income taxes go to the state of Montana, while property taxes, 90% of property taxes tend to lean more towards your local community, schools, fire departments, police departments, those kind of things. And if the state were to cut a lot of those funds, where the city of Missoula will have to be doing a lot of cutting within the budget in the next couple sessions for sure in the next upcoming budget season. So the state used 70% of income taxes, and local community depend on the 90% of the property taxes. So Jessica Miller spoke about the first testimony to the legislature and more about what's happening currently.
Workforce housing tax credit. So that hearing took place on Friday in support of that. And there was a bill, that one was House Bill 21. We also had House Bill 20, which would have required voted levies to be in dollars instead of mills. So for example, our fire levy that we just ran for 34 mills, and that will, allow us to kind of keep up with inflation as the value of a mill adjusts. This bill would have required us to levy a set dollar amount, so it becomes outdated fairly quickly afterwards. So we testified against that. Some of the highlights that are coming up this week, we have House Bill 12, which is historic preservation grants. The city and the county combined applied for a project for the new Engen building, and our hearing on that comes up tomorrow morning, and so we've worked with the county to get our testimony ready on that one. We are ranked second out of about 60 projects on that bill. So
yeah, there's a lot of bills coming down the pipeline. Many of them are going to affect how we govern, how we make levies, all that kind of stuff. Like they said before, if we have a set rate of number, it doesn't take into account the changes in budgets and that kind of thing. And levies and bonds and stuff like that are adjusted based on inflation. Well, if we have a set amount of money, that's the money that we get, and it tends to always fall short by the time the money is fully paid for. So it's interesting, because that doesn't account for the fact that the money that we raise versus how much money we have to put in the principal interest that involves with levy and bonds. So the amount of money that we get, there's always that extra amount of money that we'll always have to float around, and that's with the whole set amount of money versus if we just put a mill or a levy there, which is a little bit more flexible based on percentage and how the tax flow goes. So if there's a year the taxes are kind of going down, then that levy kind of goes down as a result. So it's very effective by keeping it within the system as well. So, as we look further in the meeting, we're going to be hearing more updates from Jessica Miller, the lobbyist for the city of Missoula, mostly via Zoom. And she also mentions that, you yourself, she's going to lobby for Missoula, and it's a collective voice, but it's only going to technically count as one comment from the city of Missoula as a whole, which does carry weight, but they're always looking for people like you at home who are looking to advocate for the city of Missoula or advocate for the state of Montana and to give comment, and go to legmt.gov. All right, we're going to move on. And things did get a little heated at the end of the meeting when a homeless individual started pointing fingers at the system that she said had wronged her. Andrea, living homeless with her 3 kids, tells her story, and this is what she had to say.
Should not be 3 children sleeping in front of the Poverel because people don't want to help them. I've been denied. I have videos. Of me YWCA wanting me to sign a contract not to have our beliefs because it offends people. We read the Bible. We're Christians. We're believers. We've had a lot of evil things happen to us. I did 14 months in jail with zero physical evidence. Crimes being swept under the rug because Mark Belden knows law enforcement. A name that sounds familiar, but when you Google it, you don't see his face because it's swept under the rug. The same man during the Black Lives Matters, a same man that's held a previous girlfriend hostage, hasn't just held my children and I hostage. My phone was taken from law enforcement. I was roughed up. My kids watched this. Long story short, after 3 public defenders did not want to fight for me, knowing there's no physical evidence of me stalking anybody, physical evidence this child has on his phone of a man stalking us that law enforcement, sheriff, Missoula PD swept under the rug. We love law enforcement, don't get me wrong. We pray. Who do we pray for, children? When we see them on the streets, we pray with law enforcement. There's a lot of, we want the God-fearing law enforcement to be those that are committing crimes, sweeping up crimes. We want them to be held accountable.
All right. And so that's what Andrea had to say about that. You know, stories like this tend to make difficult situations in the city in the past cannot lift people out of homelessness. The city and this current system, and frankly, the mindset of our community, which has passed the buck to the state and even further to the federal government. She was cut off after more than about 3 minutes and left heated. But as we talk more about these things in Missoula as part of the response to fires in LA, and Mayor Andrea Davis talks about Missoula's efforts to help with the LA fires.
Actually had a team down there since September. Met with Chief Hughes today just in regards to the management of our personnel and wildland firefighter type 3 apparatus. And that hasn't had any impact on our capacity here locally. Of course, we're always evaluating that as we do these mutual aid work with other states or other communities. But since that time, and of course, since the severity of what's been happening with the wildfires down in Southern California, we had a second crew head out just a few weeks ago, and then just on Saturday had a third crew with alongside a number of other communities here in Montana have been lending both personnel and like I said, type 3 apparatuses. What I mean is a type 3 apparatus is a wildland firefighting that can also do urban firefighting. So
yep. And so I mentioned this before. I didn't mention this on my show, but I do want to mention real quickly from the quick little news segment, just if you want to know how much the state of Montana is helping now with the LA fires. Missoula Fire Department, Missoula Rural Fire Department, Big Fork Fire, Whitefish, Red Lodge, Columbus Fire, Big Fork Fire Department, Okay, Corvallis, Central Valley, Butte, Silver Bowl Fire Departments are all sending crews and some of their engines down there as well. It is winter, and so many of the crews have stated, even the people in the Missoula Rural Fire Department say that they have more than enough supplies here to keep on keeping on with the fire protections here within the city and the communities of Missoula, while also being able to help the people in LA and beyond. So that is that, and I want to move on to my next segment. And no surprise that hot shots and crews are working in the North American areas that are needed for these fires. And not to sound preachy, these fires are too big. Even if California had twice the amount of crews, it was doubtful they could have contained anything, as flights were grounded because of the Santa Ana winds. All right, moving on. Budget and Finance is looking to increase neighborhood grant from $20,000 to $35,000. Daniel Carlino, City Council member, thinks that more funds should be available to have citizens work on larger, more robust projects that improve neighborhoods. So this is what Daniel Carlino had to say about that.
And I see this resolution and this grant program as one way to help alleviate some of those concerns and to help empower the neighborhood councils to be able to address those issues themselves through this grant process. And currently we have way more requests typically in a year than we have money in the program for. Currently the program provides up to $20,000 annually for the neighborhood project funds. And the purpose of the funds is to neighborhood council, or is to enhance neighborhoods with things like recreational opportunities, transportation safety improvements like those painted traffic circles, adding lighting like under the bridges or on the bike paths have been some requests, amongst a plethora of all sorts of different things.
And this is just another part of the system in which Daniel Carlino wants to give more ability for the people to be approved for a lot of these grants projects for neighborhoods. You know, as simple as bike racks for the smallest things, traffic calming circles can be, for beautification. Heck, even inserting some of those traffic calming areas in which all they have to do is just put up a couple posts here and there rather than having like a whole robust system put in place. Dale Bickle, Chief Admin, talks about the strain on the budget, which, it's something to really think about coming up through this next legislative session.
Things that I just wanted to point out on behalf of Public Works and Parks is that on both of these things, their capacity to internally manage these things is continually strained, and just creating more projects is going to just continue to hamper that capacity. So that's the other part. It's a minimal amount, $15,000, but it is the capacity of our staff to actually manage additional projects is tough.
Yep, $15,000 to an individual is a lot, but as a big project as a whole, as it affects could affect the entire city of Missoula, is small. And so, it's one of those things. Daniel's position is to make sure that there are more robust budgets to encourage more neighborhoods to take part and offer bigger projects to the community. It sounds nice, but a lot of these tend not to reach the 20,000 compared to past years based on the data presented earlier in other meetings. Gwen Jones, City Council, is not for this because of the money impact.
In the initiative, I am not supportive. I would far prefer this to be held during budget, because we're going to have to find the money somewhere. It's going to be coming from somewhere. To me, this is a budget discussion, but also I really want to see the results of the survey that were sent out to get a sense of what Missoulians want and their take on property taxes. So I know this is not a lot, but over the years, there have been years when there have been applications for more than the budget allows for. There have been, at times, projects that have been withdrawn. I sat on this committee for a couple of years. I think it's great work, but also I think some neighborhood councils are far more active than others. I would really like to see it kind of reworked to spread it around Missoula a little bit more. I think we've got the money to do the projects. It's just more a question of how do we implement it a little bit differently. That's what I would like to see.
All right, and so that was Gwen Jones, City Council, explaining her reasoning behind this. Hey, there's some neighborhoods that take a lot more part in these proposals. Overall, this item was more wishful thinking by Daniel, even though it is a small amount overall from the city budget perspective. This item went on to the consent agenda next week with a majority of the vote moving it forward. Stacey Anderson summed up people on council's concern for the budget for this and the upcoming budget for fiscal year 2026. This is what she had to say.
My neighborhood has done projects and they've been great, and I love the opportunities for neighbors to get involved and the outcomes of all of them. But I think that I'm just wanting to be super cautious as we go into the budget season, and I'd be happy to support an expansion during the budgeting process when I understand how it fits into the larger. And I realize it's only, a small amount of money, but I feel like our budgeting this year has the potential of being at death by 1,000 cuts. So.
Yep, and that is a lot of the sentiment of what the city is working with. And as we wrap up our city council, the community housing development and community programs committee meeting met to finalize the money for the 50.55 acres across the street from the new park for future mixed use. This is on the north side. They've been talking about it for quite some time. This is acquisition of the new neighborhood park on the North Scott Street for about $400,000 for acquisition using the open space bond money. Annie Gorky talks about this site for purchase.
They also wanted to dispose of that adjacent parcel. This is an opportunistic purchase for the city, and it completes the missing link in the city's, let me go to that next slide, in the city's acquisition north of Rogers Street. My slides aren't advancing, so let me see if I can show you the next piece. To the west of Shakespeare, and that half-acre piece would complete that missing link. We are not asking for any funding approval today. The MRA, Missoula Redevelopment Agency Board, approved funding for this purchase in October, And so again, the action today is just approval to acquire this parcel and direct the mayor to execute the necessary documents for the purchase.
All right. And so, yeah, this is just the administrative process of purchasing this additional 0.55 acres. While it's an opportune time to do this, MRA using some of the money, and also, not MRA not using the money because it's open space bond money that they're using for this, but MRA really wants to get involved with this particular site and project. And we spoke about this last month or so, and the city was interested in continuing their acquisition of this future green site for the north side, because the north side is getting hyper developed like crazy, and so they're definitely looking to have more green space as they're sacrificing a good amount of space for high density building for less green space, and so they're going to use some of the green space which was originally unused by the St. Mary Turner Cemetery, an additional 0.55 acres across the street. And as we wrap up our city council meeting, I also wanted to throw it over to our own brand new YouTube channel, branched off of MCAT, which is Songs from Mountain and Valleys. It's a YouTube page, and it's going to be featuring the band Minot, and they're going to be performing one of their songs, Maudlin. So we're going to show you that, and then when I come back, we're going to talk about some movies.
I love you, I miss you too. The mountains are so beautiful with you. Remember the time that I buried you. I love you, I miss you too. 12 years was the time that we shared. You're irreplaceable and I don't care. I drove you through the states, I drove you mad. I love you, I miss you too. And my heart is empty without you here. I just heard your name, let's start the tears. Treats for everyone and treats for them. You were my girl, my best friend.
Hey guys, we are back. Let's talk about some movies that are coming out this weekend. Kicking things off for Pre-Critic, where I prejudge a movie based on absolutely nothing but my biases towards movies in general, is A Better Man. A Better Man. Why not throw a little CGI monkey thing into it, and you have a movie that is all flash and no substance. Enjoy a biopic about a rock star actually playing himself instead of an actual actor. Enjoy his humble beginnings as a poor English child trying to connect with the world and discover music, and have to think about his whole life before getting up on stage because it's a biopic about music. Also, the weird thing that they decided to use motion capture on the singer Robbie Williams. Have anyone ever heard of the person Robbie Williams? Apparently, I had to look him up, and he hasn't really had much of a hit since 2002. And roughly, most of the stuff 20 plus years ago, and I guess he's fairly big in Europe. Nothing against him, but it kind of feels like it's one of those things where just like, okay, if you just make a regular biopic, no one's going to care. But if you throw in a little bit of CGI and make him look like the Planet of the Apes movie, because people like Planet of the Apes movies, right? And that's basically kind of like the justification of this movie right here. And then we have basically one of them days. Haven't you had one of them days where you just couldn't pay the rent on time and you have to come up with a series of events and just to kind of help pay the rent? It's yet a series of one of them days, essentially a Friday-type movie where the events that you follow happens within one day of a misadventures of paying the rent on time. One of them is a mess, and the other one is trying to get their life started with that dream job, which might actually be a nightmare. I'm assuming they'll learn lessons along the way, and then the person who is uptight would be like, I got to learn to chill out, and then they become a better person in the end. So enjoy the tropes of coming up with the money by the end of the day without resorting to sex work, because then that movie would be a little bit too short in this case. Then we got Wish You Were Here. Remember the guy from the live-action Aladdin movie? Me neither. He's doing a movie about a terminally ill man. He played Aladdin, just so you guys know. He's playing a movie about a terminally ill man trying to live his life to the fullest before he dies. If I had a bucket list, it would be to watch all the movies about bucket lists, and there would be a market for it. If you want to attract the youth, make sure their young life is cut short, and unlike The Fault in Our Stars, this only has one dying child. I'm not sure, I haven't seen the first one. Bucket List is more about being independent one last time. Young Death is more connecting with others before you die. All right, and then finally, before I start talking about the Wolfman movie, I also wanted to prompt up my Dubbin stuff because I did the 1941 Wolfman movie. So from the makers of eliminating the at most movies that have been written, Wolfman brings a small family moving within a U-Haul only to get in trouble with an animal of unknown origin. From there, the makers of Invisible Man come yet another modern retelling of a classic monster who gets sick and turns on anyone caught in their path. It's a man and nature in this one, and as his wife and daughter, who look the same, who, mind you, they look kind of like the same age. I thought both girls were like his daughters when I saw the trailer, but it's crazy that the blonde lady is over 30 years old. She looks like a little baby. The movie takes place in a cabin in the woods where the original werewolf lived, but tonight the patriarch is on the prowl. Speaking of prowl, here is my brand new Dubbin stuff for you guys, and it is from the 1941 version of the Wolfman that has been colorized. Oh, God. Too many sliders. Must.
Hold on. You looked at me for more than 5 seconds. Where are you?
Must get to White Castle. Better sliders ahead. Oh, jeez. Somebody get me onion fried burgers.
There you are. I was wondering what happened to you.
No.
You just started convulsing and just decided to leave.
Alone.
What's going on with you?
I don't know what to say. I'd rather have food poisoning than this conversation, and I have both.
Oh, please help us, mysterious gypsy lady. All right, gotta get these old bones off here. Oh, broke my ankles. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Typical food poisoning, eh? I think so, but when I was talking about my shoes, he started getting all sick and stuff. And then I started talking about my past, what college I went to. There, I'm here to help.
So I told the guy, I'm going to have to deny your claim. I just want your money.
Attaboy. That's why you're my top-selling guy.
Yeah, I'm going to really miss my dad.
Help! We need help! Help!
What the blazes is going on? Huh.
So it was like this. He was just like wandering around the forest, all sick and such.
You didn't talk about your shoes again, did you?
I don't know what to say. Out of here. And then this nice gypsy. Oh, Oh, that was weird. I thought she was just behind us. She helped us.
I don't want to sound politically incorrect, but... Well, so don't. Hey there, I hope you're doing okay. There's so many things going on. I saw so many things happening. It wasn't just sliders, it was... Out with it, man. Tell us what's going on. Yeah, you can just sleep off food poisoning. He also ingested party vegetables. I have to go check this out. Did you say party vegetables? We'll be right back. Keep an eye on him. Hurry, get the Tums. And some ginger ale. And the old linens for the bed. All right, let's talk about some things that are happening in and around the city of Missoula. It's time for events. So if you're interested in finding out what's going on in the city of Missoula, you can go to missoulaevents.net. Here, I just basically copy and paste a lot of their informational stuff, and I want to give you a kind of an intro and overview of some of the things that are happening in and around the city of Missoula. You know, Montana is bounded for the northwest by Glacier National Park and on the south side of Yellowstone National Park. Wildlife Tracks and Signs, the Osher Lifelong Learning Center, is a course is primarily geared towards individuals either new to the state or planning to vacation here in this region and its national parks. Rob Rich will discuss many species that define these ecosystems and the current wildlife. This is a $70 class. This is for an hour and a half for 6 weeks, starting today at 9 a.m. Stroller Strides, Mommy Me workout classes is a daily occurrence, starting at 9:30 a.m., meeting at Bonner Park. Empower Place, open play hours. This is a hands-on learning center located at the Missoula Food Bank and Community Center, which is going to be open until about 1 p.m. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Tuesdays and Thursdays is the long days from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. After-school meals are served after 3 p.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's 1 part community center, 1 part science museum, 1 part food hub, and 1 part library. A lot of the partners here at the Missoula Public Library have partnered up with the food bank, and during the summer hours, the library also provides free lunches for kids 18 and under. This is literacy and STEM programs and books from the Missoula Public Library for children, young adults, and parents. It's Empower Place offers enriching experience free of charge to all Missoula families. Children Book Illustration 2, the Lifelong Learning Center is hosting a class to teach about book illustrations for children's books, and it starts at 10 a.m. at the Lifelong Learning Center. Lifelong Learning Center is a great way for people who want to learn pay per class and essentially just kind of pick and choose what class they want to do. It even has some certification in a lot of different fields. Tiny Tales, Missoula Public Library, is every Friday at 10:30 a.m. Preschool playgroup at Roots Acro Sports Center starting at 10:45 a.m. It's getting cold out there, and it's going to be a really cold weekend. Why not check out and keep your kids active indoors? Lunch at the Missoula Senior Center at 10:30 a.m. This is an event that hosts for people 55 and older, and they from what I hear, they have a professional chef that makes these meals for the folks, and I believe it's anywhere between $8 to $11 for a full meal. The Palvarello Center also does their breakfast, lunch, and dinner around these times to help, feed the homeless, and they do this on a daily occurrence, not just Monday through Friday like the Missoula Senior Center, but also throughout the weekends. Watercolor painting class and yarns. This happens at noon on the 4th floor of the Missoula Public Library every single Friday. All Abilities Art Club at Base. So this is people who have disabilities looking to get involved with Art Club and connect with other people with disabilities and get access to resources. Base is a great resource for a lot of people who are living with disabilities. Aging Eye, Lifelong Learning Institute at 1 p.m. If you're getting older and need those cheaters to read, Molly at the University of Montana is the course offering each of these maladies with will be presented and discussed in detail by instructor Brian Sippy, along taught with the surgeon. This Molly course does not constitute medical advice, nor does it create doctor-patient relationship with any participants. And so this is a one-time annual Molly membership. Cost for this class is $70, and it's a 6-week course on Fridays. Lego Club, every Friday at 2:30 p.m. here at the Missoula Public Library. Kids are going to play with Legos. Need I say more? Happy hour at the carousel. This is from 3:30 to 5:30. Buy one, get one free carousel ride. Predator feeding at the Missoula Butterfly House. Missoula Butterfly House opens every day at 10 a.m. and it is offering great education programs for insects at the insectarium, but also they have predator feedings where you get to see bugs how they feed. Exhibition, openings, meditations, Radius Claywork. Their first exhibit of 2025 takes place at Clayworks Gallery and features a wonderful collection of new work by Giselle Hicks, Sarah Heitemeyer, Gabriel Kolka. With unusual restraint, these artists create perfect medleys of form and textures, color and tone, three-dimensional imagery that has a way of deeply satisfied inner aesthetic longings. That's at 5 o'clock at Clayworks, at Radius Clayworks. Regal Ensemble Series 3, Smythe and Shvostovich. This is the University of Montana Music Building Recital Hall, and they're going to be performing there tonight with their Ethel Smith's Quintet in E major and Dmitry Savocevich String Symphony. Andrea Harcel will be at Imagination Brewing Company playing their music. Grateful Dance is going to be at Sacred Alley at 7 p.m. A Waitress, MCT, is going to be premiering their show, The Waitress, this week, and it's going to be going on until January 26th, so you have 2 weekends to enjoy. This is a fresh-baked, piping hot pie. It could burn you if you're careless, and yet the delicious flavor is so satisfying it may change your life. Just ask Jenna, a waitress whose small-town existence and difficult marriage are a recipe for unhappiness. Her search for his escape and happiness leads her to a relationship with little future as it threatens her reputation. Small town, you can't get away from a small town. Darren Wade is going to be performing at Cranky Sam Public House, playing some rock music tonight at 7:30 p.m. Missoula Valley Winter Market is going to kick off your Saturday at 9 a.m. at the Southgate Mall. It's a great place to enjoy. The city of Missoula just updated their amendments to how the Southgate Mall, how the Valley Winter Market operates, and so they're solidifying a little bit more with the future of the winter market. Orchard Homes will be probably starting their winter market sometime soon, but I haven't seen it posted online or anything lately. So that's from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Southgate Mall near Shields. Family fun time at Mismo Gymnastics started at 9 a.m. on Saturday. Another indoor fun gym. Out of Mini, a history of early America, 1783. This is the Lifelong Learning Center. Molly, yet again, Dr. Richard Bell will examine how 3 people, Europeans, natives, and Africans, encountered each other in North America. The course begins with the first contact and then moves through the colonial phase, culminating in the American Revolution. Lessons tackle topics include 2 witch huntings, the origin of slavery, the Great Awakening, Native Americans, slave revolts, immigration, inequality, sex and marriage, imperial conflicts, and the war for independence. That's all at 9 a.m. on Saturday. So you get a big history lesson on Saturday at 9 a.m. Preschool playgroup at Roots Acro Sports Center, indoor fun yet again. Makerspace walk-in hours here at the Missoula Public Library. You can 3D print, you have laser engravers, a lot of fun things happening here at the library. Winter storytelling at Travelers Rest State Park. The Salish Kootenai Cultural Committee was created in 1974 in response to urgent concern of many tradition elders that strong action was needed to ensure the younger generations would carry on the culture. And so this community culture is a group of culturally knowledgeable elders who wise oversight and direction shapes the culture committee staff long-term goals and daily work. And so they're going to be talking about this, about their committee and their importance of this to the keeping on the preservation of their culture and, most of all, their language. Western Montana Genealogical Workday. This is a great way for people to 23andMe themselves, essentially here in the Missoula Public Library. This is the 4th floor in the Blackfoot Boardroom at noon on Saturday, and they do this once a month. MCAT Saturday drop-ins, stop animation, video editing, all sorts of fun things that MCAT provides for kids from 1 to 3 p.m. every Saturday. Great opportunity. Kitchen Dwellers at Wilma. They'll be performing bluegrass music at 7 p.m. Pesky Varmints on Saturday, playing some folk music at Imagination Brewing Company. Draftworks at 7 p.m. performing Shark Buffalo. And speed dating at Sacred Alley. Hey, just so you guys know, we're only a couple weeks out from Valentine's Day, so speed dating is going to be ramping up a little bit more throughout this weekend. So Sacred Alley is doing a speed dating at 7 p.m. Missoula Folklore Society concert dance at Elks Ballroom at 8 p.m. So maybe when you do speed dating, you can go take them out to the folklore contra dance, which is just folk dancing. Then we got karaoke at West Side Lanes at 9 p.m. Chris Moon every Saturday at 10 p.m. to wrap up your Saturday night as Finn and Porter, the restaurant in Doubletree Restaurant, is going to be performing jazz and brunch every Saturday at 11:30 a.m. Garden City Salsa is playing some salsa music at the Rocky Mountain Ballet Theater at 1 p.m. on Sunday. History Roundtable at Bonner School Gym. This is Timberjack, a movie that was made in Montana exactly 70 years ago. One of Montana's first movies made in the state of Old Hollywood, where they filmed out of Bonner and many places in the state of Montana. Meet some of the people still alive to recount the tales of a lumber company against a lumber company, where a son must solve the murder of his father in a typical Western fantasy. It's also a musical. Odd Pitch Pinball Tournament at 4 p.m. At Odd Pitch. Speed Dating at Montgomery Distillery. Valentine's Day is coming up, 5 p.m., getting close to Valentine's Day, and they know the pressure. DraftWorks Winter Jazz Series is at DraftWorks at 6 p.m. on Sunday. Kitchen Dwellers at the Wilma, they're performing night 2 at the Wilma Theater, playing some bluegrass at 7 p.m. Ladies' Night at Benny's Frenchtown Club, a Magic Mike experience at 7 p.m. So once you do a speed dating and then you go to Magic Mike's, it's like, I want to go for the hot stripping guy rather than the guy who seemed interested in me. Sorry. All right. Very funny weekend comedy open mic at 8 p.m. at the VFW. And wrapping up your Sunday is karaoke at the Sunrise Saloon at 8:30 p.m. Sorry. All right. So I'm going to throw it to a promo, and then when I come back, we'll talk about some news.
Robots fighting the evil Skellymen.
You never steal our Bubble Hill, Skellymen. I will take over the Bubble Hills. Go, Robots!
NCAT Animation Drop-In Workshops every Saturday from 1 to 3 p.m. located in the Missoula Public Library, 455 East Main Street.
I'll get you next time, Robots. Next time!
Go, Robots! All right. Let's jump right into some news items that are happening and affecting Montana, Missoula, and beyond. I did mention that the state of Montana has sent some fire crews over to the LA fires, as the crews reportedly worked together to form 2 Montana task force in an effort to help exhaust the fires in California. As we talk further about the systems that are not up to snuff, from LA increasing the police budget and decreasing the fire department, we run into issues of conscripting of many firefighters from many places in the U.S., even in Canada and Mexico. A beefed up fire force was in place to attack the flare-ups or new blazes. A week after the first ones began, they were expecting high Santa Ana winds this week, but they were they're pretty cooperative, and so crews were able to make headway throughout this week as well. There's also reports of winds picking up over the weekend as well, but it seemed like the winds were pretty much slow, pretty moderate, with some gusts of as fast as 20 miles per hour. So not a big deal. And many people have trying to figure out exactly the cause of many of these fires. Palisades, I haven't heard too much about the cause of this, but they did find out the Eaton fire wasn't necessarily caused by the Palisades, and the Eaton fire was the one that actually encroached further to the Sunset Boulevard, one of the closest ones, which actually had the most damaging effects of over 7,000 structures. They determined that the fires was caused by electrical towers. And so, the state of California has a lot of power lines that are above ground, and it was too costly to put it underground. Kind of funny how it's one of the most rich states in the union, and yet they can't afford to put their cables underground. So regardless of that, thus far reports are looking for the cause of the Palisade fires and asking residents to look back on their Ring cameras and other security systems, save data to find any information. The start of the Palisades fire erupted in the morning of January 7th in the Pacific Palisades. This was a hiking trail and is regularly used by folks in the northwestern parts of LA neighborhoods, and easily could have been lit cigarette, but officials are not ruling out arson. Fox 11 out of LA arrested 3 people in connection to arson related to incidents this week, allegedly caught using a barbecue lighter to light fires. The suspects had an outstanding felony warrants for arson and was booked in the Van Nuys jail. So there's a lot of opportunists after the fact trying to start more fires. And the problem with arson is that insurance companies can basically waive away those claims, as they only tend to cover acts of God, and because the electrical tower that they're claiming that was the cause of the Eaton fire might be on the utility to do this, to pay a lot of these stuff. So this also came into the fact that the insurance company pulled out. State Farm, the insurance company, basically said that they weren't going to cover most people starting in September and stuff like that. And California is one of the richest states in the union, and the costs are still being determined to be more than $50 billion at least. and at most into the hundreds of billions of dollars, as high as $150 billion. In November, Montana voters safeguarded the right to abortion in the state's constitution. They also elected a new Chief Justice to the Montana Supreme Court who is endorsed by anti-abortion advocates. However, as we get further down to the weeds of the law, some pitfalls from the judicial branches of the state could affect that transition. According to the Montana Free Press, abortion rights supporters prevailed on ballot measures in 7 out of 7 states where abortion was up for a vote in November. But even with the new voter-approved constitutional protections, courts will have to untangle a web of existing state laws on abortion and square them with any new ones legislatures approve. Sound complicated? That's exactly how they like to do it and how to make it work to upend any kind of laws to safeguard abortion rights, because the vote was put to the people of the state of Montana, but now the courts will have to decide the parameters of the abortion through legal could allow for interpretation of the time of cutoff of those rights, which has been rallying cry for anti-abortion advocates. So if they can't get the full abortion like banned, then they'll try to figure out exactly what the time limit for those things. And so that was a big back and forth for quite some time. A wave of abortion litigation in the state courts have spawned some of the most expensive state Supreme Court races in history, including more than $42 million spent on the nonpartisan 2023 Supreme Court race in Wisconsin, where abortion access was among the issue facing the court. Janet Protasowicz won the seat, flipping the balance of the court to a liberal majority. Montana used to appoint state judges by committee, but our governor since 2020 and the Republican majority passed a law that would make judge choice to the voter. Regardless of what side you're on, Montana's privacy laws protected women from outside forces from dictating what a doctor and patient can do. Mind you, some of the laws pertaining to sex change for minors is yet another one of those gray areas Montana will have to confront. Transgender bills also are on the rise in Montana as they attempt to assign at birth genders for the location in which someone can use the bathrooms, and stress this is on the theory of protecting women at birth inside those facilities. Montana Public Radio reported that the bill was passed through the Legislation Committee Tuesday with a 13-8 vote. Lieutenant Governor Christian Juris spoke on the support of the bill on behalf of Executive Branch, and Republican Representative Carrie Seacon-Crow of Billings is carrying the latest proposal, stating it's about ensuring that everyone, regardless of background, can feel safe and respected in spaces where privacy is most critical, end quote. Montana Public Radio brought up a study at the UCLA that didn't see an increase in violence towards anyone regardless. The Harvard School of Public Health found that transgender youth are at high risk of assault when using public bathrooms inconsistent with their identities. When you target a group of people, there's always others looking for an excuse to flush those laws against trans individuals. Decorum for the legislature was up for changes as Representative House Majority Leader Steve Fitzpatrick of Great Falls sponsored a House Resolution 1, which set the rules of a House in 2025, but an issue was amended to the bill that lays out decorum or rules of conduct, as well as discipline members which faced with break those rules, kind of like a 3-strike system. And as we talked about the details, Zoe Zephyr was one of those as the target after her comment of "there will be blood on her hands" remark, which resulted in her expulsion from the chamber with only her vote to carry any weight moving forward. This would be a 3-strike rule, and you're out. And that Zephyr stated, quote, "There is a risk we run when we lower to a simple majority that a majority can deem at any time that if we think a certain stance is offensive, they can silence dissent. And to me, this is inherently undemocratic," end quote. They ain't yelling fire in a crowded theater, but they sure are making laws around the boy who cried wolf. As we dive into the legislature, I recommend you check out the Montana Legislature, legmt.gov. You can draft your own bill like I was talking about on the top of the hour. We also have the bills, the current event calendar, schedule calendar, legislative billboards, past session, past leadership. You can look at legislatures. You can search your legislature, who represents you. You can get in contact with them. We also have these committees in which they're always looking for public participation, because these are the ones where they talk and actually go back and forth on this for quite some time before they actually present it to the masses. Then we also have laws, which are the things that are already built into the state of Montana. So this is something where you want to get started before you go into the services section where you want to draft your own bill. I do highly recommend that people who are very highly interested in the Montana legislature, who want to get involved or have their input, because it's kind of kooky that I remember the last legislation session, we had the U.S. Freedom Caucus basically have these kind of laws that they drafted for multiple states to come down to the state of Montana, which, in my opinion, and does not express the opinions of MCAT, Charter Cable, or anyone that represents here, is that when you have outside sources trying to manipulate, Montana stuff, things get a little bit muddy, in my opinion. It's just, it just feels like they should mind their own business, and Montana should figure out what Montana needs for Montanans. Just saying. All right, so that is my final thought on that. And I also wanted to thank you guys for joining me and for Wake Up Missoula. I'm Scott Ramp. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Take care, and sayonara.